Hi everyone! In this video we're going to build a third-person character controller in 3dverse. We're going to use the visual scripting system and a little bit of embedded C++ code. To start, let's create a new script. So right-click in your asset browser, go to Create Asset and select Script. Let's call it Player Controller. Double-click, it will open up the visual scripting editor. First, let's define a few inputs to our script. Let's start with the camera. Click Create and select Entity. Then we'll need a target entity for the camera to follow. So again, target, and it's going to be an entity as well. Then let's add a couple variables. The velocity of the character, which is going to be a vector. The current speed, let's make it float. And the target speed. And again, a float. So the first thing we need in our script is an entry point. As this script is going to influence the animation of our character, it needs to be updated before the animation system. For that, we need to select the right event. So right-click to add a node, click on Listen Events, System Events, and we're going to select Tick Pre-Animation. The first thing that we're going to do is to call a built-in script called third-person controller. So type third-person control in the search bar and select the right subscript. This script is configurable, but the default values are fine for now. We will make sure to attach this script to the actual character controller, so the character input here is going to be this entity. Put the camera to the camera input and target into target. Target. Same for target speed. From the third-person controller node, we get two key outputs, the character current movement speed as current speed and the velocity vector. So we need to save those to be able to access them in the next nodes. So to do that, just click on the little icon right next to the output, which will pop up a new node, and same for velocity. And we will use the system set node to affect our local variables to the values. Put the output into value and drag and drop current speed into the variable input. And same thing for velocity. So again, look for set, there, put that into value and look for velocity. And there you go. At the end of this, inside current speed and velocity, we have whatever this node outputted. So the last step is to add a little bit of custom code. So look for the custom code node and give it a name like apply state. Double click, it will open up the code editor and you'll be able to specify some C++ code here. So the goal here is to affect the inputs to the animation graph data. But for that we need a reference to the actual animation controller. Let's add that input, and it's going to be an entity as well. Name it animation controller and set it as an entity. Back to the code. And we are going to get a reference to the animation data. So let's get the animation controller that we just specified and get the component named animation controller and specify the component access as right as we're going to modify it, and .data.json. Then go to the anim data and access the input we are looking for, which is called speed, and then assign it the current speed. Then we are going to affect the displacement of the character controller. The character controller will be the entity which is going to be assigned this script, so it is simply this entity. We're going to get the character controller component, and again, the access is right. And we're going to change the displacement value. And the displacement value will be the velocity times the delta time. And this current speed and velocity inputs, they don't need to be public, so let's make sure they are hidden. So select the input and click on the eye here to make it hidden. Same thing for the velocity. Make sure the target speed is set to something other than 0. Let's put it to 2, for example. Save. Make sure it compiles without error. Okay, so now go back to the asset browser and let's create the scene of the character controller that will actually use our script. So right click and select create scene. Let's call this new scene player controller and double click to open it up. First, we're going to start by looking for our character scene and drag and drop it in here. So this is our skin mesh that is currently playing an idle animation. We will first start by creating a new entity that we'll call controller, and that will hold the character controller component. And make sure the character is a child of the controller by drag and dropping the character inside the controller entity we just created. Click on the controller and start by attaching the script we just made. Player controller, click, and the script is attached. Let's start by setting the animation controller. So go to the character entity, open it up, and select the root node right here and drag and drop it inside the animation controller. Next up, we'll need a camera. So let's create that camera. We'll put it like right next to the controller. So make sure nothing is selected and click on the plus here and select camera. So the camera has been added. If you select it, you will see a little viewport showing what it's currently looking at. But if you want to visualize it with debug lines, you need to enable debug lines by clicking here and go to settings and look for draw camera frustums and make sure that is toggled on. Those lines will only appear when the camera is selected. If you unselect it, it will disappear. Back to the controller, select the camera and drag and drop it where it belongs. Now to the target. For the target, we will create a child entity to the controller so that the target is always linked to the controller. So right click on the controller and select create child entity. Name this target, back to controller and drag and drop. The last thing is to actually attach the character controller component to the controller. So select controller and add the character controller component. The character controller needs a geometry, either a capsule or a box. In our case, we're going to choose the capsule geometry. So type capsule geometry, select that, and here we go. And then you can adjust the radius and the height. So let's put 0.25 as a radius and 1.3 for the height. And we should be good to go. So now to be able to test that, right click on the camera and select set as main camera. This will make sure when you hit start simulation, that camera will be the one that you'll control.